So thanks for joining us today. Wish we were able to do this in person, just like we all wish what that was happening right now, but here we are on Zoom again. I'm going to share my screen so we can all see the slides. So my plan is just to present kind of the difference between the different options that are available for the nutrition graduate degree program, and then obviously open it up for questions from all of you so that you can get some more information. And then we'll post this presentation on the website so that can be viewed later by you or by others. So as of right now, there are essentially 4 master's degree options in the nutrition graduate program. There's the traditional research-based 2-year MS in nutrition, which includes a thesis. So that's kind of in the past, when you've heard of a master's degree, this is probably what was happening, was you finish your bachelor's, you go on, do a 2-year master's, and most of them included a research-based thesis. There's also a traditional 2-year program or master's in which you do a project-based paper. So it's not as in-depth of research, but it's still a significant paper that coincides with your master's degree. And that is also something you would do after you finish your bachelor's degree. A few years ago, we implemented a BSMS integrated program, which everyone tends to call the 4+1, which you've probably heard about. And we'll go into more details on exactly what that means. And then as well as a fairly new Master's of Professional Science or Professional Studies, which is a 1-year coursework only, and that includes no research or paper or project. So let's move on. We'll go into depth about all of these options. This is a table that will be on our new website once that gets approved. But I just wanted to show it to you all now because I think it's a really great overview of kind of the difference between them all. So as you can see, it tells you what type of master's degree it is and the time it takes to complete, and then kind of all the other parts of that. So I'm not going to go through each box right now, but this will be provided with the recording, and that way if you want to look back. But we'll talk a little bit more in detail about each of these options on the next slides. But this is just I think a really great visual as to exactly what this all means for you and how each option is different. And like I said, it will be on the new website, which we're all crossing our fingers will be coming out very soon. So looking at the Plan A versus Plan B, this is a question I get a lot. What does that mean? And what's the difference? And so a Plan A is kind of what I said before, that the traditional research project or research thesis that students complete in a master's program. And then it is what it would be done in the traditional 2-year. It would be hard to do a research-based thesis in less than 2 years because you just need that time to do your research project and get the data and analyze that. So a Plan B is very similar, but there's less research involved. So typically a faculty member who's your advisor would have something in mind or something that they're working on. They just need a little more literature review on, or they need you to take a look at certain data points and kind of explain how those relate to whatever topic is going on for that project. But you're probably not going to be doing in-depth research for that. The Plan B also requires more coursework to be taken, 10 additional credits. And the Plan B is completed in the BSMS integrated program, but it also could be with the 2-year traditional master's, like I said before. And this is something you would go talk about with your advisor if both options were available for you. Your advisor would help you determine that. So looking specifically at a traditional 2-year master's, in our department, there's a minimum of 30 credits. 14 are in nutrition, 6 are in a minor or a supporting field outside of the major, and then there's 10 thesis credits for Plan A, or the 10 additional credits for Plan B. You must maintain a GPA of 2.8. You are eligible to participate as a teaching assistant or research assistant. With the research assistantship will be with your advisor. You are required to do a seminar presentation. So I don't know, those of you who are students, I don't know if you know that our department has a seminar every week in which grad students present their research findings, and we have guest speakers too, but that is already something that happens every week, and so you would be part of that. And then obviously you complete the thesis. Here's a little bit about the admission. There's an application on our website. There's prerequisite coursework, which as a nutrition undergrad, you've met all the prerequisite coursework. The GRE is now optional. And for international students, there's a language speaking test. But here's the email address for Andrew, who's on this Zoom meeting. And he is an expert at answering your questions when it comes to the admissions process, because it sometimes can be overwhelming or a lot to take in. And then the BS-MS integrated program, so the 4+1, what that means is in the 4th year of your bachelor's degree, you are also doing the 1st year of your master's. And so you're taking coursework in both. And then that 5th year, the +1, you would be solely a master's student and just doing the master's coursework and finishing up your project. You will do a Plan B project in the 4+1. The benefit is that it saves time and money. So in that 4th year, when you're a bachelor student and you're also taking master's credits, you are only paying bachelor's tuition, undergrad tuition. So that's a significant savings for money, and then also time, because like we just talked about, the traditional master's is a 2-year program. And so here you are just adding 1 more year past your bachelor's degree to finish this master's. A little bit here about the admission. So the spring before your final year is when you would apply to this program. I don't want to say junior year or whatever, because I know we have so many transfer students and that doesn't always correlate to where you are in the program, but it's before you have 1 more year of the bachelor's degree. That's when you would apply that spring semester. The deadline is May 1st. The application information is on the website. It's very similar. I think it's the same application as the other option. Yep. And then there's letters of recommendation requirement and a personal statement, which is for all the grad school applications. So it's similar process. Again, Andrew, you can certainly reach out to him with any questions about that. And then there's this new program, which was approved last May, but we didn't have anybody enroll for this year. So we're looking at this coming fall being our first time with students in this program. It's called the Masters of Professional Studies. And it's a 1-year terminal coursework only program. What that means is there's no research involved, there's no project, there's no thesis. And when they say terminal, that means it doesn't lend to advancing on in a doctorate program or something more down the road. It's 30 credits total. So it's the same amount of credits, it's the same classes as the other master's students would take, as far as in the nutrition department anyway. You do 14 credits in the fall, 14 credits in the spring, and 2 credits in the summer. The purpose of this professional master's degree was to help meet the upcoming requirement for RDs. As I'm sure some of you know, if you're in the DPD or you're working towards the DPD, you know that down the road RDs will have to have a master's degree. So that's what this was put in place for, and it potentially could change in the future, but for right now it's just following the same curriculum as the other master's students. The application and eligibility, the big difference is that to be eligible for this program, you have to have completed a DPD at the U of M. So that would be anybody that's in our program who's doing the DPD. So at this point, we're not allowing people from outside the U of M to apply for this. Could change in the future, we don't know yet. The deadline is May 1st, just like the integrated program. There's the grad school application, recommendation letters, and a personal statement, just like the rest. And then again, Andrew will be happy to help answer the questions. Another question I get a lot about are graduate advisors and how does that work? So for the traditional masters, whether it's a plan A or plan B, you have to have an advisor to guide you through your research project or thesis. And you have to have that person in place before you're enrolled in the program or accepted to the program. I guess maybe you can be accepted, but you wouldn't enroll until you've had that person identified. And it's really just a matter of emailing people or talking to them in your class. You know, it's just trying to find a connection or make a, you know, build off a relationship you've already made with a professor, and identifying that, yes, I do have a research project coming up for the next year, or, you know, whatever year you're looking at, and that they would be happy to have you work with them. The BSMS integrated program, you also have to have a faculty advisor to help you through that Plan B project. And again, that person is identified ahead of time. And that's what Andrew and Shelly, who I should have introduced from the beginning, I will introduce them at the end instead. They will help you through that process, because it does take a little legwork, but you know, faculty are used to students asking them about this. So it's not a weird conversation from a faculty's perspective. They're used to this kind of conversation. The MPS students will have an advisor mainly for mentorship, but it will be assigned to you. So there won't be anything you have to do ahead of time to find an advisor. And that's all I have for presentation. But let me introduce real quick. I'm really sorry I didn't do this from the beginning. Xiaoli Chen. She's the Director of Graduate Studies. So you would work, anybody that's in a graduate program works very closely with Xiaoli. And maybe you want to just share a little bit what the Director of Graduate Studies does, Xiaoli.
Yeah, so basically we, you know, my job is to respond to student questions, and, you know, in the application process, I for Plan A and Plan B and for +1 programs applications, I also you know, help students to identify faculty members, you know, advisors. Will I be here to answer your questions, you know, any kind of question related to the admission, and also the policy and stuff.
Yeah, great. And Xiaoli teaches nutrition and metabolism. So you would, those of you, well, you're all probably a nutrition major, you'll have her in your senior year. She teaches that class at towards the end of your time in the bachelor's degree.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then Andrew, I will let you, I always forget your official title, so maybe you can share that and then just explain a little bit what your process or what your involvement is with this grad school process.
Yeah, for sure. Hi, my name is Andrew Howe, and I am the graduate program coordinator for the food science and nutrition programs. So I'm assuming that I'm talking to current undergraduate students right now. So I'm essentially the graduate version of Sarah Cannon. There's a little bit of a difference between what we do, but basically treat me that way. My job is to help coordinate the graduate career of all the graduate students in the programs.
And when we're on campus, Andrew is located in the main office, so he's pretty easy to find. And hopefully by next fall, we will be there at least some of the time. So that's all of our goal. So, but anyway, let's see if you guys have any questions. Be happy to answer those for you.
I have a question, Corey.
Yeah, go ahead.
Roughly when, because the applications are due on May 1st for basically most of what we just talked about, when would we find out about what's going to happen with us?
Right, so from what I understand, and Shelley, you can correct me if I'm wrong, what I understand is by July, most of the students in the professional masters and the 4+1, the BSMS integrated program, would know the results of their application. Is that the correct timeline?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. And then the traditional students, it's what we call a rolling application, and that you can apply at any time essentially, and then you'd be accepted and enroll based on if you find an advisor, kind of when it occurs. You wouldn't start mid-semester, you would start at a semester, but it could be any time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think the application process, we have like a 2-stage. The first stage, we get, receive your applications, and we have a faculty committee to review your applications and, just for qualification. And so once you meet all the requirement, and Andrew basically will, inform you that you are, and eligible and you qualify for the, admission. But in order to be formally admitted into the program for Plan A, Plan B, and 4+1 program, and you will also need to identify the advisor. So of course, you can directly contact faculty members, email them, talk to them, and also we can help you to identify advisors. So yeah, so once you have and have confirmed that and find an advisor, then you will eventually officially admit into the program. So kind of a 2-stage process. So.
Yeah, and make sure you check out the website, because there is a form for your academic advisor, which would be Sarah or Michelle or Robin, to fill out specifically for the 4+1 program. So that's something you want to check out ahead of time. And then I think there's a form for recommendation letters. Is that correct, Andrew?
Yes, there is one that's on the website, the link that I just provided. Just do whatever that says and you'll be fine. And if you run into any questions, just feel free to ask anybody. We can help you through anything that's unclear.
Mm-hmm. Yep. A question I get a lot that you guys might be thinking about is specifically if you are wanting to become a dietitian, which degree, what should I do? Which route should I go? And really it doesn't matter as far as the future master's requirement to be an RD. Any of these options meet that. Now, if, like I said, in the professional master's, that's a terminal degree. If there's anything in the back of your mind that thinks someday I really might want to get my PhD and continue on in academics or something, further, you don't want to do that professional master's, because that won't lead you down that road. You would want to do the 4+1 or probably the traditional master's and do a full-on research project. I think that's, the best route for that. But as far as practicing as a dietitian, any of these options are great. They're all going to give you additional knowledge and prepare you. Obviously, you will have done a DPD if that's what you're working on right now. So you'll have the dietetics knowledge, and then you just add on additional nutrition knowledge that just takes it to the next level. And that would be something you would obviously use in your practice. So for the dietitian route, like I said, any of these fulfill that. You just have to kind of think about what you want to do, what your career goal might be down the road. And if you have questions about that, certainly reach out to me. I'd be happy to have a conversation with you. And we also talk about it a little bit more in FScN 4667, which I teach, and that's in a fall class that you would take your final year in the bachelor's. So we'll have further discussions about that for sure.
And also, if you would like to know more about the programs, I think we have a graduate student handbook available on the website. So you maybe would like to download and take a look at it to get familiar with the program. And of course, we are available, I mean, ready to answer any question if you have.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
For the, I know, I can't remember if you said it was Plan A or Plan B that the GRE isn't required right now. Is it still for the 4+1 program?
No.
Okay.
No. It's
It's
optional,
optional.
all programs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have a question. In terms of like the applicants that you see for all these programs, how much undergraduate research experience do they typically have?
Oh, regarding the applicants,
Yeah, like
undergrad
yeah.
experience.
Mhm.
Well, I would say most of the undergrad applicants, they don't have much undergrad research experience, but if you have, that will be plus for sure. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to get. It can be hard to get, especially now.
Right.
But yeah, it's much more common, I think, for food science undergrads to be involved in research in our department than nutrition undergrads. So yeah, if you can get it, like Shelley said, it's great experience, but yeah, it's not very common.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? I'm trying to think if there's anything I get asked a lot. Is there anything you can think of, Andrew, that you get asked a lot?
Not really at this point. If any of you decide that you do want to apply, I'm sure questions are going to emerge. And then for those of you who are admissible, it may be valuable for us to do something like this again, because at that point there are quite a few questions and there's lots of things to consider, but that would just be giving you too much information to have to wrestle with right now. Don't worry about it. Just decide whether or not this is interesting to you, and let us know if you have any questions. We'll help you out if we're able to.
Yeah. And one comment I want to make regarding the, I don't know what to call the terminal degree or whatever, on list on the table. So in terms of, if you would be interested in pursuing a PhD degree in the future, so Plan A, Plan B, I think I want to say eligible. That means that when you're doing the master degree or Plan A or Plan B, that you would be able to transfer from master to the PhD program. But if you doing the 4+1 program, it's like possible. That means you depend on how much research you're involved. So if you involve a lot of research, you would be able to transfer from master to 4+1 master degree to PhD degree. But if you do the last the program called professional master degree, and the plan, well, not say that. So that degree usually just one coursework, right? So it's kind of terminal. So that means you were not able to be transferred to the PhD grant directly. So, but doesn't mean you were not able to apply for the PhD in the future, but you still be able to apply for the PhD program.
That's good clarification. Sometimes I get it mixed up too. The other thing I was just thinking as Shelley was talking is sometimes those in the DPD are wondering what order they should do things as far as the internship and the master's. And really it's up to you. Obviously, if you do the BSMS program, you're continuing into the master's right after your bachelor's, and then you would apply for dietetic internships after that. As far as a traditional master's, whether it's Plan A or Plan B, or the master's in professional studies, you could go either way. You could go from bachelor's to internship and then do the master's, or you could do bachelor's to master's and then the internship. But the thing to keep in mind is by the year 2024, in order to take the RD exam, you have to have completed the DPD, a master's, and an internship. So whatever, order you want to do that, it doesn't really matter, but you have to have all of those steps in place. My one suggestion would be the RD exam really builds from what's the current dietetic internship. And I put quotes because everything's kind of in the midst of possible changes. We're all kind of thinking about what the future holds. At this point, it's continuing as it is now. So the exam builds from the internship. And so, if you do bachelor's internship and then do a 2-year master's degree, there's a little bit of time there where you might lose some of that knowledge off of your internship. And so in some ways, I almost think, doing the internship at the end right before you would take the exam can be beneficial. It's not for everybody. You kind of have to go with go by your situation as well. So, but I just want to throw that out that overall, it doesn't really matter. You can do whatever works best for you.
And Corey, this actually brought up something. I'm not sure if anybody is curious about this right now, but it does come up periodically. So when we're talking about those traditional master's degrees, so the Plan A and Plan B, the 2-year master's programs, administratively, they're very similar. If you are a 4+1 student, once you enter that that +1 year is how I refer to it, that year that you are a full-on graduate student, you are a Plan B student when you transition into that. I guess that category is how they would refer to it at the U. And then the MPS is its own very unique separate thing. Now, you don't necessarily need to know right now, if you're thinking about the traditional degrees, whether you're interested in the Plan A or the Plan B. It's something we really like to know ahead of time. Oftentimes it has a big bearing in who becomes your advisor, and honestly, sometimes whether or not you are an admissible student. But if you're admitted into the program and let's say you're admitted as a Plan B student, but you realize that you really like research a lot, and maybe you'd rather do a thesis instead, that is eminently doable. It's also doable if you're a 4+1 student. Bear in mind, that's probably going to extend your time in the program by a year at least. But you do have that flexibility. So if you're anxious at all right now about that aspect of things, you don't have to have that decision made yet. But definitely know where you're leaning at the time that you apply.
And I think your advisor will help you identify that as well. Like when I started grad school, I didn't know what I was going to be doing. And then my advisor said, well, I have this available for you. Are you interested? Yeah, great. So, that's what advisors do. That's what our faculty do, is they help guide you all through the program and find what works best for you and what works for them in their lab and their research area. So.
For the application, do all 3 plans fall under nutrition MS? Is that all when you're picking the the master's program you're applying to, through the U's application?
Almost, yeah, except for the MPS. The MPS is its own thing, because all of the other 3, so you have the Plan A, the Plan B, and then the 4+1 Plan B, you get an MS. An MS is an MS is an MS as far as the university is concerned. So no matter what, you're just applying for nutrition MS in those 3 instances. There is an entirely separate application for the MPS, however, so pay attention to that if that's of interest.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else you can think of?
I actually have one more question about the 4+1 program. So I know there's the prerequisite classes. So theoretically, if I was gonna apply to the 4+1 program, I'm am registered to take one of the classes over the summer. Would I still be eligible if I completed biochem over the summer?
I think so, yes. As long
Okay.
as you'll be able to complete the BICAM before your registration
Okay.
semester. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and that happens a lot too, by the way. A lot of people they make a commitment that they will have completed all the prereqs by the time classes start. And as long as you do that, you're all good.
Okay. Thank you. I guess I have one more question.
Oh yeah, of course.
Sure,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
Would you recommend that we would take the GRE, or since it's optional, or should we not take it? I don't know.
I honestly don't even know that you can take it right now with COVID. I think it's a little more difficult, I think, than it has been.
Mhm.
Yeah, testing centers aren't really reliably open right now, and this is merely my opinion. It is not the opinion of the department or any of the programs, but don't do it. Don't take it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's necessary. Our faculty voted on this. Everybody's on board in the nutrition program. And there's a lot of other things they will look at in your application other than a GRE score. So at this point, I don't think you want to take the time or spend the money for that.
Yeah,
Okay.
use that time and work on your personal statement or something. Like
Yeah.
there are much better
Yeah.
ways for the people reviewing your applications to make an assessment as to your preparedness. So, you know,
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm. Okay. Well, you know how to get a hold of us. I know you saw my email, so you know how to get a hold of me for sure. And Andrew's is on the slide, and you can find Shelley's on our website. So we're available, even though we're all virtual mostly. Please reach out anytime you have questions. And hopefully next fall, we'll be back in the building at least part of the time and can see you in person. So, but like I said, don't hesitate to ask any questions that come up at any point, okay? All
Awesome.
right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks
Yeah.
for joining us.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
all right.